everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and what I'm going to do today with you is show you how to paint a gorgeous fall lake scene. This is all the autumn fall colors in the trees that you love. This is everything you need to know about painting that type of landscape in acrylic step by step. This is one of our more involved lessons, but I'm still going to break everything down. If you have questions about anything I'm talking about during the show, and you want to ask a question, definitely put that in all caps so that we can see it, because the chat can go kind of fast. I don't know if we could send gnomes today. I have no idea how much of a warning anybody got for this live stream, even though if you're here, hit the subscribe button, because we do these every week.
Yeah.
We're like pretty consistent, I don't know, for years and years now. Free art classes, online, live, step by step, for beginners. That is what we're doing. On the mic is my husband, John. He's that voice that you hear kind of going, yes, yes, great, great, great.
Hello. How are you?
And basically what he does is make sure that you guys can see everything during the show. Can we go to the palette?
We can.
Because this is just me sitting in front of a wide screen. So we're going to be working on these wood round todays. If you check the description down below, what you're going to see is the colors I expect to be using. We may change things out. We may not use every color there, but it's what I expect to use for this design today during the live. You'll also see a link to the traceable, because I don't expect you to draw. I'm going to show you how to draw this in, but I don't expect you to know how to do that. So that is there for you if that drawing is not your favorite. There's also a link on, I don't have a round canvas in there. It goes down to where I got these little wood rounds from. They are super cheap and awesome. But it says to you, but what if I don't have one of those and I still want to do this painting? We have some really cool workarounds that have turned out some gorgeous paintings. And those suggestions are in that link in that blog, step by step. And Irene says, can you send wishes for Candy Reed? She has fallen and broken her back and is in hospital. We like to do wishes and intentions on our canvas. And I say that today, let's definitely, let's definitely make that the wish for today. So Candy Reed, thank you. So I guess we would want her to have great doctors. I'm using an aqua pencil. All right. Great healing, and to be as back to herself as she can be. Because I can't imagine how scary that would be. And so lots and lots of support and good snacks I wish for you in the hospital.
Yes.
So we'll put those wishes there.
Everyone.
So that's a wish and intention that we can put into the universe. I'm going to go ahead and start prepping this wood surface. My palette doesn't have any colors on it yet, and that's because we're going to put those out as we're using them. But that's the other reason it's a good idea to check that description, because that's where that kind of guessy guess is. Now, again, this is just raw wood, and you don't have to use gesso. Why am I using this gesso? Because I was going to do this piece brown anyways. Just anyways, and as a solid brown background is the underpainting, and gesso just happens to be a nice, fluid, inexpensive way to paint a surface. You could just do 2 or 3 coats of acrylic paint. Now you'll notice I'm not doing anything special to this wood to prep it, other than give it a solid brown.
It's getting its brown.
It's getting browned. Oh, now brown. So, this is doing a nice thing in that it's giving me a nice even brown surface to start from. I could have gessoed with white or green if I wanted to, or a different brown, blue, any kind of base color that you see in the landscape that I would want to use.
So you're just selecting a color from the darker shades in the landscape.
I'm selecting a darker color from the darker shades in the landscape, and I'm picking a neutral one. Because I want everything to be about the fall leaves, not my background color. Right. So that is a choice that I'm doing there. And this brown, even when I put the green over it, will play against that, because the green and the orange, they're contrasting of each other. You can see this kind of goes out super easy. I've been really surprised at how good this particular, I haven't tried every set of wood circles out there, 12-inch circles. Nope. I haven't done that. I have tried canvases, which I've really liked several. And these are the first wood rounds, and I just gave you the link to the ones I actually bought. You can get different ones. I will not think badly of you. You could get one of those beautiful raw-edged rounds from Michael's. You know, the ones that are just the slices of tree? You go slice the tree, and then you can turn it into a clock. You could run over there and do the same thing on that. What do they think of that? Can golden yellow be a good alternative for cadmium yellow medium? Says Nikki Sherpa. Yes! And Sabrina Bulk says, where do you find round canvases? Where do you find round canvases? Well, let me run this awesomeness down for you since we're painting the background anyway, Sabrina. You're going to love this. Most art stores will carry a line of round canvases, and most craft and art store combo locations will have one. Generally, they're a particle board. They have kind of a rough surface. You may have to do some prep on the surface. They'll have wood discs like this. Online, everybody's got specialty shaped canvases. There's even a round you can get from Wilson Bickford that has a deckled declining edge. It's so gorgeous and so insane of a stretch canvas. There are so many options. In fact, there's even round watercolor paper now. So the options are numerous. If you can't get one, then you go to our blog that's in the description down below by the link to the round canvases, and you can round wood rounds, and it will tell you alternate ways that you can do this project if you don't have a round surface today. So, I don't know. Was that too preachy?
No, this is like if I don't know, like this is your school. This is like your classroom. You should be teaching and preaching and
preach on a Saturday?
Sure, why not?
Let's shake out our Saturday. Let's shake it out.
Reverend Talley would tell you to preach every day.
Because he does preach.
He does.
Because that's his job.
It's his job.
It's his
first
job. I saw a question. It kind of went by, and I'm trying to find it. Kelly E says, if you only had black and white gesso, what color would you use? Interestingly enough, I'm so glad you asked, because I would mix them and make a deep gray.
Wait. If you were trapped on a desert island and you only got one gesso Sherpa, would it be black or white? And why? That's too big of contemplation.
I'm going to say white and hope I don't curse that guess later.
So they both have usage, though.
They both have usage, but white would have the most usage because it's the most neutral. And then Virginia's like, yes, keep teaching us. Okay, good, because that's what I was going to do today. I'm going to dry this. You can see I haven't made this like super smooth. I've let the gesso and the paint brush out. The brushability of it isn't going to hurt this surface. And what that basically tells you at home is that your surface does not need to be unstreaked or perfectly smooth no matter what you're painting on. We just want this kind of brown general starting point.
Okay, so to sort of drill down on the point that she was making earlier, your lighter gessos, now you can get shaded gessos or toned gessos, I should say, that have color added to them, and you can also shade them by adding black to them and making them darker and lighter. But the point being is that your student paints generally perform better when you paint over white. And when you're painting over white, they tend to pop more and come forward more. So a lot of times there's a recommendation, especially when using student paints, to paint over a white gesso base, or a lot of times you'll see cinnamon leave areas out and paint around them to leave the white there. And that's because a lot of colors like yellow are naturally transparent, so are some of the blues, some colors like that. So better off to leaving some of those white bases unless you really know what you're going to do there. So.
Haha. Just in time. Am I unmuted? Mitali Baran asks, can we use brown wood? Yes, you can. You will find that as you're painting in acrylics, that the moisture in the paint can impact the wood, and you may need to do a couple coats to get the wood to seal. So those are things that you might be up against, but it'd be beautiful. And then Sabrina says, how long before doctors think you'll be standing at an easel again? Is it hard for you personally using your long handle brushes when you're sitting? I'm no longer here for any medical reasons at all. I'm just here
because I'm slammed.
Because John slammed and hasn't gotten the other thing. Initially, we started this out to deal with the fact that I didn't want to take time off. And then I was like, okay, fine, well, I'll sit. Now I'm here because I'm not set up at the easel. But hopefully you guys, there are several close-ups, and hopefully you guys are getting good angles, and that is okay.
We're gonna have
and it doesn't bother me to use long handle brushes when I'm sitting. But I have decades of painting. Like, the stuff that bothers me is so weird now. It's like I think like I am the equivalent of Gandalf the Grey in painting terms. And I think I've just gotten weird and curmudgeon-y about my art stuff. Just ask John. So many weird opinions. But it won't be about, like, is this handle, like, long or short? It will be about, like, does this paint brush out nice, or is it like, I have such weird stuff that sets me off.
Yeah,
you know.
I definitely fall down the Radagast hole.
Johnny B. Good says, why is gold thought of as a fall or winter color? Because it is a warm metal.
If you come to Pennsylvania, you understand.
Yeah.
Everything
so you see
gold.
it in winter because it just pairs well with the winter colors we traditionally use. But the gold itself is generally used in fall because it's just so predominant in the landscape. I'm trying to get this knot to move around. I don't have my good stick-em dots today.
You
don't? I'm out of good stick-em dots. But I'm not out of T-squares. So if I take this kind of right through my surface, and I know that these are 12 inches, and you can see these are just, they cut these just slightly under 12. It's so irksome. But we're going to pretend it's not.
Can you add
and I'm going to make
gesso?
A little mark at the halfway mark, huh?
Can you add paint to gesso?
Mm-hmm. You can add, yeah, you can do, look, Holbein makes 35. This is Holbein gesso. If you want the best gesso, if you're just an artist coming by and you're like, I wonder what the best gesso on earth is. Like, unequivocally, guys, it's the Holbein gesso. Right? It just is the best. It comes in 3 grits and 35 colors. They're not kidding. And these handy-dandy pouches, it has the most coverage. They make the best gold gesso out of anyone, and that includes Daniel Smith. And I used to be such a freak for Daniel Smith's gold gesso until I tried Holbein's gold gesso and then got all mad that all other gessos were not like their gesso. So, just a weird fun fact. But regardless, we figured out where the halfway kind of horizontal part in our canvas is going to be. And I want to come down a bit below that. I still want to use my T-square because my water line needs to be flat. So if I can't make it flat, I'm going to be in trouble. I'm going to come down a little bit and hopefully make another kind of flattish line that is is parallel flat. You just hope. You know, at this point, one just hopes. Oh, look, it kind of went up at an angle, didn't it?
It's difficult to square on a round surface.
It is. Generally, if you're technically trying to do it exactly and you're doing architecture, you'd make a square inside the round surface and then you could square off of it.
I have a tool.
You have a tool? What's the tool?
Hold on a second.
I'm going to keep drawing on my cabin while he finds his tool. So here we have some nice background leaves. We have a little wharf going here. We have a ton of water reflection, which is what this painting to me is really about. And we have this gorgeous little beginning of a building. Now listen, first thing I want to say to you is this building, oh, that's so interesting.
Hands from the side.
Done hands from the sides. Yeah, show me a trick here, sir, with your garage tools.
This
Uh-huh.
is a builder square.
Okay.
You have to say that.
Oh, so this is a builder square from John's own garage.
Edge, that lip.
Yeah, I see that lip.
Cool. Edge,
Okay.
how it lines up on there.
Oh, you want to check my lines then? Why don't you check the lines I did, sir, as you shift my... You're not helping. I don't know that you're helping.
Here.
Do you guys have helpful helpers? You guys have helpful help?
T-square?
Oh, you want me to use my T-square on this. So you're saying combine up these tools. Oh, I see what you're saying. How are we doing? Did we do okay? I think we did okay. I think for the purposes of the painting, John, we did okay. Did we do okay?
Yeah.
All right, we did okay. All right, so
I told you.
so he's got a tool. If you want to go check your garage or space for that tool, you could do that. I'm going to hope that this continues here. And so we're going to talk a little bit about, I'm not going to use that because it is a bit of an unwieldy tool for me, but I can see the genius of it. I see the genius.
There's a tool for everything.
All right. Now we've got this little cabin here. You can do any cabin you want. This is a suggestion, this cabin. I just happen to like it. I'm going to come up to just be thinking about scale, because scale helps you determine the size of the trees and where we are
No.
in the painting. I'm going to go ahead and start with the triangle that is the roof.
So,
Fairly flattened out triangle.
being October,
Uh-huh.
is this like an Evil Dead cabin in the woods?
Nope. We've completed that portion of October.
So we're not like on the lake waiting for Jason to visit us?
Jason is not coming.
No?
No, he is not.
No bad dreams? No Freddy? All right.
I'm going to throw my chalk tool at you.
Okay, fine.
I would throw it at him, but he will catch it, so it isn't helpful. How do you display a circle canvas, says Sabrina. You go to the Victorian Framing Company, which is also in that blog that is linked down below, and they sell not only frames for the craziest shaped canvases you've ever seen in your life, but they also sell bubble glass to glass it, and then you hang it just like a regular. I have one over here. John can grab me. I'll show you guys that framed.
Look, you don't even have to worry about it. If you
I have
paint on a
one of the
ground-
patron paintings that they did on the wall was a glass. You want to hand me the one right there? So if you're like, gosh, should I frame this? Yes, you should. Should I join the Art Sherpa patronage? I don't know. You'll have to look at this painting to decide, is that the kind of thing that you want to do? But this was just a cheap version of the round frames that I found on Amazon. This particular painting is Green World. It was a 5-part lesson for patrons that they did, but it's where we started the rounds, and you can see the back goes here.
Mm-hmm.
I can wire across this, or I can do a clip into that. The frames for the Victorian Company are significantly better. You guys just love that painting.
That is
I
really
do.
cool.
We're gonna be painting pretty good today too. Pretty good today too.
I have to
So
say,
I just have to tell them one thing about art.
go for it.
All right. This line here, the angle that it's at, is the angle that this back line has to be at. And the angles here need to be somewhat similar. The only thing that they can do is, depending on, we're going to just do this on this nice little 2-point. But if the house was a little bit more in vanishing, these might converge. But you do definitely want those lines to be as straight as possible. I'm going to go ahead and do some straightish off the building lines. Leave room for this roof to go past that line and this roof to go past that line. You need to make room for that. And I definitely want this roof to be past the little butt line here. Vertical-ish, guys, vertical-ish. Ish. We can get more specific with tape when we get there. We just need to know where essentially that is. All right. You can even, if you want to do the little triangle. So however you want to do it, you can put a chimney here if you want. I'm inclined to maybe think about adding a chimney or something. As I get into the painting, we'll see how we do. But that's that basic thing. And then you've got these pillars that go across. Now, we have the pillars and we see them and they're pretty awesome. And you can see that in the perspective of where we're at, because we're down low in the water, the pillars are, like, in scale, they look like they're the size of the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can do that. But here's what. It's going to bother us later and probably look wonky in the painting. So as we get everything painted in, we're going to change their little scale a little bit so that they don't look like they're the same size as the house, because we're not trying to do a forced perspective painting where we make a Hot Wheel car look like it's the size of a street. And when you photograph low, and John can kind of explain that to you in photograph terms, like if you're low in the water taking a picture, right? So you're seeing things from the frog's eye view. This is a frog's eye view. That's why those poles look impossibly big against the house.
Because you're
Like
much lower.
Yeah, because you're so low. Because look at the size of the door. So this is something to be aware of in paintings. If I have a door this big, but an anchor pole this big, it looks like I've made a gnome home.
Your perspective is really weird. So
your brain will correct for it for the photograph, but it won't do it for the painting, and you will get nothing but grief.
Yep, everyone will be like,
just so you know.
That house, is it like 3 feet tall, or is it like 6 inches tall, or is it a regular house? Because it looks weird with that.
It does, and you have to correct that. I still want it to be about the forest, and I want it to be about the things that I'm seeing here, but I don't really want it to be much bigger than this. And the only way, again, to do that is on the dock, right? To make the dock, any sort of dock ropes. And probably what we'll do is we'll do some dock ropes to here, and we'll do some little dock ropes to here, and have this be kind of opened up. And just remember, what's the view? It's a frog in the water.
Frog eye view.
Frog eye view. There you go. Now you know those things. Now you know some things about the painting and why we make changes. This is all you've got to draw in to start, though, which is wonderful, right? Now I'm going to put out some of my colors. I'm going to put out cad, yellow, medium.
All right, I'm going to have to move some picturing around.
Oh, okay. Me or them?
No, that. I'm going to move it. See, I got
okay.
This.
I'm going to put out some phthalo green. I expect to use a lot of it. You can, if you have any, this was raw umber, this gesso. You can just use any brown that you have, though.
I think it'll go here.
If you have some of that gesso brown or
is
base
that okay
brown.
Right here?
I can't see me at all.
Oh, hold on a second.
I just see the chat that you have up, so I don't see me.
There we go.
Okay, there we go.
So I'll put the paint in.
I think I'm okay. I think maybe the chat can be there, and I'll let you know if I have to see overhead to see. With the round thing, I can get enough different views.
Oh, I need make sure
tape or anything else. Those
hold on, let me see.
Good stickies. So I have the little low sticky dots. Does not work. I have the low washi tape. Does not work. Yeah, or a better tape with stickier sticky, because this is my low tack. All right, it's okay. I've got this worked out. I'm going to do this. Now, the big thing will be in the reflections. Those we'll have to pay attention to, that they look right. But in the trees, we can have some fun. So we've got cad yellow medium, phthalo green, and burnt sienna. A pretty good base start. I'm also going to put out cad red light. Now, for many of you, this is a pyrrole orange, or this will be a cad orange in this company, which is SunLEA, which is in the description. I have both options listed, so you don't have to be at all concerned about that. I'm going to put out some yellow ochre, always a nice kind of toning color. We have cad yellow medium and yellow ochre. And then, what? Yes, those. There's 3 left. I don't know. If it continues to go bad, I will use the entire whole thing of dots.
Okay. You'll just go with
Prussian blue. And I can tell because in this company, the Prussian blue tends to separate. But it does look a lot like the phthalo blue. The formulation on the Prussian blue is messed up. And that's something to realize. Every company has a color that they struggle. They do. They all do. I'm putting out some ultramarine blue. And we'll go over these colors as we're going.
All right.
I'll get some quinacridone, and I feel like I should have some cad red in the bucket. I do have some cad red in the bucket. And I feel like I should have some Doc's purple in the bucket. But if I don't, I will accept that reality. But I do. Ha ha ha! Look at that. I have all those colors. So I am mostly using the SunLEA today. It's not required. It is just a color that you can use. These are colors that you can use. So I may put my cad red there so that those are all together a little more. And I may go ahead and put out my Docs down here. This is just to deepen some of the reds in an unexpected way. And then I have this aside. I don't know where I might need it, but it's here if I need it. Sometimes you just got to put stuff aside if you need it. Background leaves. I'm going to use one of my Ultimate Varnish brushes. This is really basically an oval mop. So this is an oval mop. This is an oval mop. And these are synthetic filaments, and I prefer synthetic filaments on my oval mop. I'm going to go ahead and load up with some green and just a smidge of brown to start with. And I'm going to begin to paint this very, very dark green background space that's kind of green and brown. Right? This is just the start of that. I'm not getting the brush particularly wet. This is an out of focus area, so it's really not going to be bothering me. The reason we don't see the top of the dock is we are in a frog's eye view. That's the only thing we have to correct for, is that frog's eye view, the way that our brain is not going to process those little pylons in relationship to the house for scale. Just isn't. You can see that's how it is from the photograph. That's how it is. That's just what it is. But I can promise you, when you're painting, and then your family member comes in and they're like, "Why are your dock pylons so big?" Telling them it's the reference photo is never going to be. There was one where my mom was like really, really off on how big trees had to be in relationship to a house. Right. And she had a big thing. And then we had done a painting from a reference photo where that scale was different. And we didn't change up the scale. And she was like, she went off on how like the scale is all wrong. Da, da, da. And I'm like, yeah, but there's the reference. It happens. And so you just start to correct for those mistakes in scale. And I'm just going to go ahead and kind of make sure that is a few places. It's that nice green base. I don't have to worry about it too much over here on the right-hand side as much as the left-hand side. And a lot of it is really about what's happening here. So I'm going to take my green and brown again together, as you do. And then I'm going to come in. Those of you who paint with me a minute know this is one of my favorite mixes. I'm going to make that deep green. Deep green, you ready? Yeah. And we're going to just add some little sparks of little leaves and bits here. I like to kind of squish up my brush so it makes interesting little patterns that are like, oh, I have some little leaves that are in the distance, out of focus, a little bit lighter. It is darker than you'd think at first, and you want to kind of build this up. You're going to show those little pops of light that could be happening in the greenery in the background. It's going to be such a pretty painting today. It is going to be a super stunning painting. Notice that I'm just barely touching. I'm just going back and forth. What color can I use in the background if I do not have that gesso color? Asked Shay Cherie, who is a very cute name. Any brown in your box will be fine. This didn't require a specific hue of brown, a color of brown. It just needed a nice neutral brown, and this one happened to be raw umber. You could use burnt umber. You could use burnt sienna. You could have done an all dark green background if you felt like it. You didn't have to. I'm not telling you. I'm not saying you've got to do it. I'm just saying if you wanted to do it. So this is super fun up here, I feel. There's some interesting kind of very light leaves up there that are sort of ochred out that I'm going to get into. This is me just touching the corner of my brush sometimes, and I'm rolling it around. I'm just letting it make uneven little marks, as you do. Let's come here. I'm going to go ahead and
get the little highlights.
Get some little highlights down here. It's kind of like a little area of bush and dirt and stuff behind here. You might have. Pulling that down. There we go. A little more yellow into that mix. Whoop, I know. Big pop, right? But just put a couple little... This is where you see these bright little leaf marks. what this is about is that this is in the canvas where, and you can see how my brush is like all kind of hot messed. Hot mess is good. That's why I'm always telling you guys, don't throw out that brush you
I'm
destroyed.
gonna see. That's kind of dark today. We're working dark colors.
It is harder for the camera sometimes to see those dark colors as they come in. Coming here and just.
I'm gonna lighten up that camera. Hold a second.
Okay. I'm going to touch this up here. These are some nice light leaves that are happening there. And then definitely there's some keyhole work that I can do here. Little pops of light that could be going on. I always think it's fun to do these little out of focus, distant moments. So we're just building some distant foliage. I can rinse this out thoroughly. And I'm going to put out some white, some titanium white. And I'm going to put out some zinc white, which I think will be my golden paint today. So this is Holbein acrylic I'm using in the white today. I'm only telling you that so that you know which one it is. It isn't, you don't have to use that brand, that tube, that. These are general bits of information that you do need when you're painting, but they're not going to make or break your total painting experience. Malik is in. Hello, everyone. How are you? Sebby Arts wants to know, what is the hoot in this painting? 3. And then, do you know what material she is painting? So I'm painting in acrylic on a wood round. You can go to the blog that we have listed in the description to tell you if you just had a canvas and you wanted to do this, but you didn't have a round one, how you would do that.
Yep.
It's easier than you think. It actually makes the painting much easier for you. Oh, this just had it with this thing.
That happens. You gotta put those little dots down.
I am, man.
All right.
I'm dotting this because I am fighting the dot.
I adjusted it up so I could see.
I need to buy some more dots.
There you go. That's good. It's real.
It's just so slippery today.
Slippery.
Easels, that's what an easel is essentially doing for you guys, right? It is just making your canvas stable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go here. I may never get this off. This canvas is done, so enjoy this beautiful. No, I can actually get this canvas back. How about get my hand in paint while doing this? Good on me. Good on me, yes. Yes, sirree, Bob, good on me.
There we go.
So brush is damp. Green is toned with brown. We can get some yellow into this. I have titanium white and zinc white. Zinc is just more transparent. So when you use the zinc white into any color that you've got, instead of creaming anything that you have out, and lightening it in that way, I'm just touching here. Touch, touch, touch. I'm trying to be able to get in on the, trying to put in little pops of light. Studio Ghibli it up. Okay. I am just coming around and adding anywhere that I think it could be lovely to have a little highlight. I'm adding one. I can always come back and take it out. I don't have to worry about that too much. Now, lots of brushes we can use. I'm going to go into a fan for a second. This is a number 2 Silverstone fan brush. It is a hog bristle. You can get hog bristles in the Simply Simmons line at most big craft and art stores. So that gives you an alternative, and that's about the scale of that in my hand. I'm going to come in here and get a little of my
Now, did you
yellow
see?
green, and I'm going to get it, add some orange into that yellow green that I have here. A little orange into that. You know what we're doing?
Yeah.
I'm
As
going
you
to
go,
come up here. Huh?
you're gonna show how to highlight with like sunlight and stuff here, huh?
Yes, we're going to cover
Okay,
really
cool.
all of the sunlight and all of the way that these little branches are happening. I'm going to come around this edge here. I really like the fan for these round edges as well. It kind of lends itself to making sure that we have just barely touching in the water. Some of these distant little spots. Now, as we come forward into that, it is going to get oranger, but we just have these little bits of leaves, don't we, in the background. By toning the orange with the green, that will also help keep these in the distance. You can see how little bits of light are captured here and there. We're going to continue to go there. Now, as I go down, I'm going to get into more of my red, my cad red. Still pretty dark as I'm doing that. And I'm going to just bring some of this color down. You need to get back into the yellow, you can do that. See how we're just kind of shading that little space up. So that's where we're at right now. You can always rinse out and dry off. Why use hog, not synthetic? What is the difference? Says Dorothy Radmaker. Great question. So one, definitely watch our 5-minute video series on fan brushes, right? So if you've got 5 minutes, I'll explain to you some basic differences and stuff. The hog gives us this softer, more diffused look. Synthetic can be too soft. If you have one of my fans, you're fine. If you have one of the Art Sherpa fans, which I don't know how one is not sitting right here right now. I have the, oh, there it is. Okay, so if you haven't, so if you have an Art Sherpa fan, you're fine on your fan because it's so stiff. So this is an Art Sherpa number 4, and this is the number 2 from Silverstone. Anything in this size range will be fine, and anything in this stiffness will be fine. All right, so I'm going to go forward. I'm going to take a little of my red and green together, as you do. A little red and green. And come here and start to pull into the background some of that beginning fall color show. You can see I'm just stippling up and down. Just a stippling stroke, stippling up and down. There isn't a right or wrong to how we're making marks on the canvas. The trick is that you're trying to capture hues, that's the colors, and gotta go here. My notifications always pop up over my reference photo. There we go. So we're just adding, this is a much darker kind of in the background fall space, right? So that's why I'm taking this red and green and making these deep colors that we're going to build up on for this tree that's here. We need that dark value. And you can see how now the dark value behind it, super useful. I'm going to come forward as I'm going into more red and more orange. And let's find some branches, right, that we're going to think about and talk about. Little bits of this tree. And it kind of falls down a bit, doesn't it? Those little leaves. And if you've got to get a little more water into your brush, go ahead and get a little more water into your brush. You can always add a little more of the light red. There we go. Let's add some little spots of sunlight that are popping in here and capturing on this tree. So we want little bits of light that are on some of the branches. And there are even some really light little leaves that are going on. You like it when the leaves get light?
I like.
Keep leaving my microphone up. I like it. I like the leaves.
You like them? You like the leaves? I like the leaves too. Just a little bit of extra light there. Always. Up a little bit of extra color there. Another really fun, unexpected little mix that you can do is I can take a little of my cad red and a little bit of my dots together. Now, it's even against all this, it still gives you a wonderful deep bright red, though, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Look at that deep bright red. Let's just paint this. I don't want to take out the deep shadows that I have. That's actually helping me, you know, maybe have this background tree. But I definitely want to have that contrast of color there.
Oh, you're upside down. All right. Ah.
I am upside down just to make sure that I've got a different view. I'm sorry, babe.
It was definitely a different view. It was an inverted view.
Can even come in here and add a little orange to that to lighten it up. It gets crazy real fast and gorgeous. Looks beautiful. And we've got that nice little pop there. I still would recommend unexpected jeweling pop of color coming down this way. And maybe a couple bits of areas that might have gotten some leaves in the light. So grab some little orange there. They're still in the shade, but some leaves in the light. We have to be careful what we do because we have this beautiful weeping willow we want to put here.
Uh-huh.
That we want to layer and have here. So, is important. Now, we have all these gorgeous yellows on the other side as well.
Mm.
Yellows are browned a little bit or greened a little bit. So I'm going to take the yellow here has just a smidge of the orange and some of the green into it. It's not, it is bright, but it's not as bright as it could be. Right?
That begs the question, how bright could it be?
Super bright. It could be super bright. We don't want it to be quite that bright. We want it to be a yellow, but we want it.
Oh, well, yeah.
And I'm just touching the brush to the surface. You can always get a little orange into it if you need to, just to gray it. Because there is a bit of that orange in these yellow leaves. Just a smidge. I'm on the corner. I'm doing a corner paint. So I've got a nice load all on the edge here, right? On the toe.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm painting these corners. I have a little control over that brush. Now coming over here, we have some leaves that are, you know, kind of in the background, right? I'm going to get into the green maybe a little bit. Still yellow, but kind of green. These will be behind some of our interesting more focal trees. And we've got a nice branch that's going to come up there and do some stuff. I'm going to add some cascading rounded branches and kind of green right here. I'm not taking out everything dark. This looks amazing, says Debbie D. I'm so happy I finally caught a live from the beginning. Go, Debbie, ha! I'm so glad you got a live from the beginning, too. And somebody sees ducks. And then Sapphire Eyes she's sorry she's late. She went for a horseback ride this morning for part of my PTSD program, 70 degrees here in Georgia. Wonderful trail riding today. I think that is so cool. And can I say thank you for participating in self-care?
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes we forget how hard it is to take care of ourselves and do the things we need to do to stay healthy. I know right now I have doctor's appointments that I've got to do, and I don't want to do them. It's not what I want to do with my day. Am I thinking of ways to get out of those doctor's appointments? Yes, I am. But I'm not gonna, because I have people who count on me. And I don't want them
Mm-hmm.
to ever know what life is like without me. So I'm gonna just go ahead and fill this sort of in the background, and then we'll pull oranges and things forward. But I do want this sort of diffused in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can come back in even with some green and brown again. This is that sort of outer edge, very deep forest.
Deep forest.
Super important to take time for self-care, though. I think we all struggle with it. Meg Beloved says, fan brush question. If my paint is looking clumpy, should I thin it? Have tried all types of, have I or have you tried all types of hog and paint? Because I've tried a lot of hog brushes and a lot of paint. But that's my job, so that would make sense. If you have tried a lot, then I would definitely say that you're having trouble with your water brush load. You're having trouble with your water and brush load. I have a 15-minute video that will solve that specifically. And I have these shorter ones, so you can just go watch a thing and get the technique or concept and then come back and do a lesson real easy. So that's how to prevent the biggest mistake beginners make, or something like that, which really is about the load of the brush and how much water goes on for what brush. It's really harder than you think.
So these kind of techniques are really important because, like, painting each individual leaf would be challenging.
I mean, you can do it. It's gorgeous. Have an artist in my featured list that paints every leaf. He's my paint every leaf artist. I love him. Paint every leaf. I'm gonna come here, and he does. Man, he is he does big. You know how I'm like, the number one mistake you can make is like tiny little brush, big canvas. He literally is the master of tiny brush, big canvas.
Mm-hmm.
So my point of that is he wrong? No, of course he's not wrong. He knows what he needs to do in his own painting practice. And for the type of technique he's doing, he's picked the correct tool for the job, for his process.
Yes.
That's an important thing when you're talking with teachers. Teachers will say things like, you shouldn't use black in landscapes. They don't mean all artists everywhere. They mean you. Just you. Not all artists everywhere, because there's only a handful of things that are true for all artists everywhere. And even those things, there's always some artist who's got to be a complete who breaks that rule.
Yep.
Does it safely, but still breaks the rule. I'm just loading more and more yellow in as I'm going. And you can see it just kind of mixes with that yellow and green in the background that we've got going here. Isn't that gorgeous? I love doing that. I just love doing it. Not that you've done anything wrong, and I don't know why I just got so intense with you, but I do love doing it.
I like watching you do it.
I'm adding a little bit of my cad red light to that, so there's almost orange aspect to this yellow. A little more yellow. And if I need to lighten from there, what can I do? I can go into that zinc. That's what zinc is.
What can you do?
That's what zinc is for. Just kind of coming in there, maybe a little bit of edge there. Don't want to take out too much. So just pulling that in here and there. And trying to capture like the density. So if there's a dense area of yellow right there in the background, what do I want to catch? I want to catch that density, don't I?
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and continue to play with this grass that's kind of like part of this hill. It's very strange.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we have two trunks, and the trunks are weirdly blue. I don't have an explanation for you for why they're weirdly blue, but they are. So they both of them have kind of a weirdly blue purple aspect. I'm going to just take my ultramarine blue and my burnt sienna,
Mm-hmm.
because these will gray each other out nicely, and use those as the base. So they'll be that sort of purple blue base, but it has enough of the trunk to be okay. I'm going to come over here.
Well.
And this first color, as John will point out, is darker. I'll even add some zinc to it so you can even see it go out.
Oh, yeah. And that's the undercolors.
Yeah, this is that first little range of color.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need too much of a trunk on the willow that's over here. It does have a bit of a bend on it, and it's a very young willow. It's almost ornamental. It's so young. I'm going to go ahead and add a little white, and you can see how that blue and brown make a beautiful gray. And I'm going to go ahead. This is a number 4 round. It's just going to give me a bit of a control over the size of my brush, and I'm going to go ahead and add a bit of a highlight coming up that trunk, aren't I? Add a little bit of a highlight coming up the trunk, because that's where our sunlight's coming from. And so being able to tell people that with our wonderful, wonderful painting is an important part of our job as artists. I'm going to go ahead and add a little more of the white, and I'm interestingly enough going to get some yellow in it, which does green a bit, but when it goes against the trunk here, it will look like a little bit of the trunk caught some sunlight in a couple places. You know how I did?
Yeah.
It's going to have that look to it. Just getting that bit mixed up.
Ooh. This is turning out pretty nice there.
It's super fun, man. Let's be honest. This stuff is super fun to do. Who doesn't like to do this? I don't know. The
I
people
like
that,
it.
a lot of YouTube doesn't want to do this because this video is not going to have 20 million views. But if you wanted to learn how to paint this, this could be sort of nice. Now, I'm going to chalk this ahead of time just to make sure I like the look of it. There is a tree sort of coming from here and bending up through there.
Oh.
And I just want to make sure I've got that and that I liked its journey. Now, we can exaggerate what this tree is with its branches and things. And that is an okay thing to do. Nothing wrong with it. I'm going to go ahead and add some of the purple and blue together, and that's going to make, in this particular case, my dark color on the tree has a bit of a purple cast to it, but I want that. I'm adding these shadows so that when I add some leaves, those branches seem a little more, thought out on the tree. And I'm going to add some darker little spots to this tree. Not too many. I'm going to switch out. My water's gotten kind of dirty, as you can see here, so I'm going to switch it for clean. And then anytime John wants to, microwave my coffee, I won't be mad at him.
I can do that.
Can you do that? All right. I'm going to get my highlight color and we're going to highlight the tree very much in a similar way. On the toe of my number 4, I'm using a back and forth stroke motion to kind of give the aspect of this tree being rough, woody. Are you woody? Can you put up the reference pic for a moment? Says Heather Campbell. Yes, he can. He's getting my coffee. When we come back, we'll put up the reference pic. And if you guys need the reference pic on the website, on the calendar, if you click today, that'll work. You can click the event. It'll take you to the page. And the reference is in there. And if you're in my Facebook group, the Art Sherpa official, the Facebook group, if you're in there, the announcement today has both the reference and the traceable. Those are great places. And then the next newsletter out, I will be sure to add the traceable from this and the reference. So if you want that from the newsletter, that will go out a little later. And I will be happy to share that. So I'm just coming here. You can see just roughly painting some barkish. Aren't those barkishes? Barkished. I'm going to add a little yellow. Oh, they want the reference picture when you're back, babe. When you're back. Okay. So I'm going to, I'll sip my coffee while you're getting your coffee and they're looking at the reference pic. I'll just add some highlights maybe to some parts of the tree over here. Some little sunlight highlights. I like that idea. Little sun highlights. There you go. Nice little bit of tree. There's a lot of other tree that comes over from the right, so that's why I'm doing that. All right. Is there a tier specific that receives access to the patron paintings or that one that you saw? So there are specific paintings to each tier because I want to give everybody something. Top tier, which is your power patron, paints live with me, some pretty involved multi-stage classes like what you saw there, Green World. And if you want to be part of those live streams, you've got to be there. And then we do a Zoom meeting. Once a month, we try to get a Zoom meeting in and, ask questions, talk about the painting, just kind of engage a little bit with each other. And I'm in the Zoom, if that would be of interest to you. Then the next down is Precious Patron. They get the previous month's painting, not live, but they get that. And right now it's been running once a week. Plus they get extra videos. Sometimes if we have them, we're just halted on the Red Queen for a minute. Then there is a live watercolor. Then there is a live acrylic painting. The live acrylic painting, which is based on the witch painting from the watercolor that we did. That's like for the $5 and up. So I make sure from 5 and up, you get live classes. You just get more and more and more the further up the tiers you go. So, and the classes become more involved. Like I would say the 1 hoot classes, 2 hoot classes tend to be in the group level, the entry level patronage. Okay, so that answers that question, and we have a patron thing and you can look at the rewards. So here's what we decided to do with the patronage. I'm just drinking my coffee. Hang in with me. And I know everybody's like, my patronage. I get it. By the way, I consider it patronage to share the videos. I consider it patronage. I mean, I'm super grateful for everybody who helps financially support me, but I am not trying to be one of those people that's like every 2 seconds. And I'm sorry if we are my patronage. I just wanted to answer the question. I'm not a good salesperson in this area. I feel really weird mentioning it. Is it awesome? Yes. And I try to over deliver and under promise the patronage to make sure that everybody there has a lot of stuff. I don't take away stuff from YouTube. You're just much more likely to have a nude painting over in the patronage, or a weird painting that I wouldn't normally do, or a very long multi-class painting, something like that. Or it's just weird. I don't know. Ask the people who are in it and they'll tell you if it's good. So I suck at explaining it, don't I? I suck at explaining it. It just makes me crazy. You know what I'm talking about? People are just like every 2 seconds, and it's just like, if you want to do it, I'd love to invite you to come be part of it. I'm badly selling the patronage. If you'd like to be part of it, I would love to invite you. It would be great to have you. If it's not doable because the world is crazy right now, or you just don't feel like it, guess what? You're still loved just as much, and you're still appreciated. You're still there for you. You just don't get to paint Green World. That's all that happens.
That's all
to you.
it is. It's just like this is.
You just don't get the beautiful Green World painting or the peony. Her peonies. We did a big still life with peonies and shells and cut carved glass and metal. It was really gorgeous.
The Art Sherpa is made possible by viewers like you.
Yeah, but all the viewers, not just the patronage. I don't want to be one of those creators that's like, I was
You're
trying
not.
to explain it. I'm so grateful for all my patrons because it does really help us keep going. But I consider everybody who watches the show, who goes in the group, who shares a painting, everybody is just as dear in my heart. And so everybody matters.
Yes.
I'm going to continue to paint now that I've awkwardly waxed on and on and on and on and on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get my number 2 wet, and I'm going to get into my yellow here, and I'm going to let just some green that was on the surface, maybe even this green, kind of get into it. This is much brighter, though, if you're noticing. I'm pressing down a little harder, as you can see.
All right, let me get in there so they can see.
And listen, guys, if you were doing...
Oh, man. That's some tree magic there.
It is some tree magic. Tree goes magic. And Dusty's like, you did good. And then Karen's like, where do you share paintings? So you can come to the website and upload them. We give you guys unlimited space. You can go on Twitter and share with me. I actually am likely to see them there. I just don't check Twitter as often as I should. So if you want to share there, you can share there. I might even retweet your art.
Are you a share there?
Pinterest, Instagram, and of course, Facebook. If you want to just post and not have me mess with you, post to my Facebook page. The page. This is going to get concrete. I'm going to make a map. I'm actually working on an old world map of every. You guys have no idea. You miss so much stuff. You have no idea how much is going on all the time. I have just no way to convey to you where I am and how I am doing things. I'm going to make a map. But in the first part of the map is the Art Sherpa page. That's that kind of business fan page. It's where we stream from. Visitor posts. Just put it whatever you like. I don't curate it unless you're selling or driving people to your YouTube channel or it's some like getting complaints. I just don't. I let you guys share there. That's what that page is for, and I love it, and I appreciate the community engagement. Just go by and post. If you're in our group, our closed private group, we have a bunch of weird posting rules. They're not actually that weird. You want to know what they are, John?
What are they?
Paint with me. The group is for beginners who paint with me. So if you're painting with me and you're doing tutorials, share as often as you want. You can share all the tutorials that you want all day, every day, 100 times a day. You could paint all 1,000 tutorials and post them in one day, and we would just let you go. We would think it was strange, but we would let you go. If you're doing original art or artwork from other YouTubers, we have some restrictions, but we do have ways for you to post. And I will let Cad Red explain all the ways that you can post because it's involved. She's better. She wrote the document that explains it. But basically, on Friday, if you painted tutorials with me recently, we just go back and look and make sure you're painting with us. If you painted a tutorial with me, then you can post an original as long as it fits the group guidelines, which are no nudes, no politics, no religion. So that does change a little bit from October through January because we allow paintings that are about, I'm adding yellow to the mix and adding highlights to the tops of these leaves right here. And I'm trying to get little bits to the tips of the branches.
I see it.
Yeah.
It's very magical.
And it's just I'm trying to be magical. Trying to be magical. Doing our best. Our darndest.
Mm.
trying to be magical. So yeah, in the group, and then I have the Big Art Quest group, which is just for Big Art Quest. And then I have the ATC group, which is just for ATCs. And then I have the challenge group, which is just for original art of the challenges. And then we have Acrylic April, which is for daily painters doing the Acrylic April program. I mean, we got groups. Then we got patron group. We kind of let the patrons just do their thing.
Patrons get a lot of stuffs.
They do. I won't lie, they do. But, you know, I just want to add a little bit of that green right there. I think that's perfect.
Perfect.
Now we've got to do our...
The reddish tree.
No, interestingly enough, let's get into our Weeping Willow.
Oh.
Kathy's like, you give so much. I'm happy to contribute as a patron because all you do, there's so many that offer only teasers without patronage. I love you guys. Yes. John and I are committed. John knows how I feel. We will not gate you out of the content that you love.
We're working on an interesting way that we can support our patrons and still provide access to new and interesting things
for you guys and never ever have to worry about it. I doubt it. All right, we're going to go in here and I'm going to do an interesting thing. I'm going to do green, a little bit of brown, and a little bit of ultramarine. Weird color combo, I know. I'm loaded pretty heavily on my number 2 round, and we're going to do the weeping technique. Now, if you haven't seen this, again, there was that fan video series where we showed you guys how to paint the weeping willows and how to do the weeping technique. So if you need a fresher upper on that, that's okay.
Fresher upper.
Fresher upper. You can see I just curved that brush out.
Mm-hmm.
And then we droop down some leavies. We have a lot to do here. This is layer 1. Ready, layer 1. 3 people got that. Was it just you? Is it just you married?
We'll have to see.
So just so you know, John is married to me. And he's been married to me for so long. My God. I have been his human for most of your adult life. I have been your human.
Yeah.
I have been your human person.
I'm trying to see what's going on here.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, just fine. There seems to be some weird moderation things.
Is it doing something crazy?
I was just scrolling up to see here.
Ashley Welch says, I love the ATC group. I have yet to paint one, though. I'm so scared to get that little. Oh, and hi, Rosie Monster. So I guess Rosie Monster came in. So hi, Rosie Monster. And you're not late, but thank you for bringing donuts. Well, I guess you are late. But thank you for bringing donuts. If you bring donuts, you're just always forgiven, right?
Yeah.
I'm taking the blue and the green, and now I'm going to do what I almost never do. I'm going to add some white. And you're going to see it makes more of that kind of grayed out minty color, doesn't it? Not an interesting color. I still want it green enough to feel green.
Definitely green enough to feel green.
All
That's
right.
like a...
So these are the kind of in shade little highlights that are coming down on this.
It's like a Kermit the Frog imperative.
It's not easy to be green?
Got to maintain the green.
Nah, I think you're thinking of, oh gosh, the Bounty Hunter show from the Sci-Fi Channel that you didn't watch. So you're not going to remember which one it is.
Nope. So for me, it was definitely Kermit the Frog saying, it ain't easy being green.
It is not easy being green, but you can see that green definitely has a blue, and especially even in that shadow. Now, as I go over into the sunlight, I'm going to add a little more yellow into this mix. You can see it's super different than the other greens that we have done in this surface.
Donna definitely got the joke.
Oh, good. I'm so glad you got the joke.
Now, do you ever use paint thinner or odorless spirits to clean your brush?
No, you would never do that with acrylic, especially synthetic brushes, because half of them melt.
That would not be fun.
You can use thinners on natural hair and bristles relatively safely, but again, you don't do it with acrylics. If you have dried acrylic on your brush, I would suggest you use rubbing alcohol. 90% is my favorite. It doesn't have to be exactly 90. It could be 91%, it could be 93%, whatever you have in your area. And it can work at 70%. But you use that to get the dried acrylic paint off. But you can't use the solvents with your brushes because they melt. I'm going to kind of bring in some of these other little light green ones here. And then we'll say there's just a few kind of happening here. So you can see it's blue-green over in the shadow, and then we're going to get a lot more yellow into it.
So much more yellow.
And then we're going to get some of our zinc white into it. There we go. Very light color, yes?
Yeah.
So there's this reflection, there's this matting that happens on willow trees in the color, and that's why I've added the blues and colors that I have to help kind of capture that matting. But you can see how we're capturing those little drops coming down. And maybe, a little bit happened here. Can you see the little sparkles of light on our little tree?
Yeah.
Now, I'll work my color through my brush as you do, and I'm going to go ahead and get a little of the titanium white into it. And then back over here a little bit if I can. I like the two little colors of that tree.
Yeah.
That are happening there depending on where it's at in the sunlight. A little more yellow and a little more white. Just tapping a little bit out. I know we're putting a lot of thought into our willow tree, but why not? Hopefully we should have a nice little look there. Can I look at that overhead without chat?
Hold on a second.
Wow, is this how you would do fireworks too? Yes, this is how I would do fireworks too. And I think we had a follow-up. Oh, that's so nice. Isn't that looking lovely? Nice little trees. They've got their reflections. They're happening. They look so good. At this point now, I've got to do the cabin. So I'm going to get into some brights. I guess I'm going to just take a number something 6 ruby satin bright. Get my brush wet, and I'm going to start to paint in the cabin, which is going to again be burnt sienna and ultramarine blue to make our gray. Now let's just paint our whole cabin in. So the front of the cabin here is lighter than the side of the cabin there. Whatever we're doing here, we will be doing as lighter comparatively. And you need to make some decisions. You could at this stage make this a wood cabin. You could change the color of the cabin. You could customize this out as much as you want. You could make those windows and put light on in the cabin, which is really gorgeous. We've done that with our other cabin. Now, Bob Ross used to do a thing where he did not light up the cabin's windows. They were empty. And I like the idea that Bob did that because he believed in a natural world that was untouched by mankind. And so painted a world that had not been spoiled yet. And I think that's kind of a beautiful, lovely idea. I went down a little bit far on my blue-gray, but I'm all right with that because I just wanted to get that painted in. As I go back a bit, I will remember to make it darker, right? Just overall. Just overall, you're making it darker. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and get into an angle brush, guys. You don't have to use an angle brush. I'm just going to get into one. This is a 1/2 inch angle. I just want crisper corners. Then the brush I was using was giving me in that moment. And I just wanted a better turn here in the corner. Anybody that paints with my mom probably has 20 of these angle brushes. She lives for a ruby satin angle. That's where most of my ruby satin angles go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure that you take your building sides a little bit up into your roofline space, because as you drop your roofline back down, over it will help you shade and do those things. And you do want to do all those things. And get a little more of my white on here, and I'm going to come to the front. Kind of highlight some of this. I'm doing this in a very kind of loose, dry brushy way. Make the space feel kind of rustic, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, even with the side where I'm highlighting it, it's going to be a little bit less, right? Because the side in shade. But still would have to register as 1 shade darker.
Right.
These are simplistic ways of looking at it. Obviously, if you look at the building, there's reflected light from the water. There is an environmental impact along the building's edge where the water has risen and caused what? It's caused mold and things, right? So if I were to take a little bit of the green and brown and blue, I would get kind of like a little molding color that I could talk about at the edge of the building. That's a nice effect, actually. These little things that you can add into a painting, they interestingly do some stuff. They tell a story of an area, don't they?
Yeah.
If there's a water line around this building, it lets you know that the water line could go up, doesn't it? Tells you that this lake isn't maybe always the same height. Now, I like the yellow on the roof, the kind of orange yellow, so I'm going to go ahead and continue that. I'm going to take my orange and a little bit of my yellow, and I'm going to go ahead and paint some of that. Hopefully pretty well. And in the fall, I actually felt like this roof line was rather engaging because of its colors.
Yeah, I really like it.
So I didn't really intend to take that entirely away. I'm going to go ahead and I like how it has that edge coming through the other side. And then we're going to go ahead and get into the red. We'll add some purple to it to gray it. And then we'll paint some neat little rounded terracotta tiles. And that's a pretty painting. I like doing these.
I like it.
Personally, I enjoy these long little paint-alongs.
Me too.
I do enjoy them. I hopefully you guys enjoy them at home.
You okay?
Yes,
You had
I
a
was
thought and
reading
then
chat
stopped.
and then I realized I just totally got distracted by chat, but it didn't have anything to do with art.
So you should finish teaching, then
So I
read.
should finish painting and then have a sip of my coffee that you so kindly heated up. You know, because that's awesome. That's looking pretty good for the start of a building.
Yeah.
Start of a building.
It's a start.
It's the start of a building. Everyone's liking the Sherpa brushes. And I have to agree. There's a general discussion about does the right tool impact outcome? And I would say that if you feel like it could be true that the right tool does impact outcome, you're not wholly wrong. I'm going to take a little bit of my ultramarine blue into my orange. And I'm going to darken the orange over here on the side of the building. A little bit so it's not quite as bright as it was. Now, I'm going to use my blue. I'm going to come at the corner. And I will go ahead and create a shadow under the roof. So when you're looking at colors, you know, and you're trying to think what shadows can I do, what kind of stuff can I do, let's be playful. So if I take a little bit of the purple and the ultramarine together, and I can even tone them a bit with zinc, I can come here and with that purple kind of paint the idea that this is maybe a little more in shadow.
Mm-hmm.
I can also come underneath here. And then brush down a little bit of kind of that underneath the roof. I want to, while I'm here, I might go ahead and take a little of my brown and I think enough blue to really make a dark color. And make sure that I start painting that wonderful pier.
Oh, yeah.
Now there's the first wood kind of pillaring that happens along the pier, and then there's a kind of pull down into the water that is happening along the pier. I can go ahead and take my colors that I'm using right now and start to paint that weathering. I'm still using my 1/2 inch angle here. And I will just go ahead and start to just talk about this. And we'll pull it down pretty far because we have reflections to do in the water.
Hmm.
So since we have reflections to do in the water anyways, to the degree that you can, try to keep those brush strokes as straight as you can. To the degree that you can, as straight as you can.
Well, thank you, Rosie Monster.
Thank you, Rosie Monster. Compliment or sticker. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Very much appreciate that.
Like the Foxies. Those are cool stickers.
I think we're getting some positive, people are enjoying the longer realism paintings. Yeah, it's nice to break it up and try to, are you guys coming, I don't know if you checked the calendar coming up, but we've got a palette knife painting coming up.
Yeah.
So if you guys have checked that, want to know, and we've gotten kind of some more and more serious kind of palette knife painting. I'm kind of excited about it, yo.
Yeah.
Now I can come in with my purple, just my purple, and I can come right underneath. The purple is such a dark color that it's almost a chromatic black. In other words, it looks to the eye to be a black, a shadow, but it doesn't have any black pigment in it. So that's what we're doing, is just kind of, we have black here and we can use black, and I am not telling you black isn't something you can use as a beginner.
Yeah.
I like to tell you the whys of things more than just generals, do's and don'ts. And the reason is that if you understand why something is true, why do they not want beginners to use black? Because black can muddy colors very easily, and it's hard for beginners to prevent that. All this. Great landscape color, though. Many, many great landscape artists use it. Copiously. Makes a good green. Landscaping green, black and yellow. I'm just using my brown and my blue, and I'm just starting what is under this wood here. I'm just starting it. And I'm using my zinc white. I'm going to just pull this down every once in a while. Sometimes it'll be lighter, sometimes it'll be darker. I can always glaze it back if I need to. I'm just trying to start to speak to the rough wood, the rustic wood, right, that we have reflecting in the water underneath. And it's okay. Any colors that you get, that you have, are fine in the wood. Look, that's all fine.
Oh, yeah.
All fine under here. In the painting, we can get away with just unbelievable, amazing imagination. You don't have to worry about that at all. We'll put out some more burnt sienna if I can locate the tube.
The tube.
The tube. Is palette knife for beginners, says Tina Tinaro. Okay. Yes and no. It is totally for beginners, and I will be explaining it. But just like it took a minute to learn the brush, or it took a minute to learn the tools that you have, it takes a minute to understand the knife. If you can be patient with yourself and recognize and give yourself the space to have that minute to work out your loads and your edges and your things, which are absolutely doable for a beginner with practice. Palette knife painting is very much for beginners and super enjoyable. And for many people, easier. For some people, harder. It really just depends on you as an artist. You know, does anyone else's watercolor paint feel grainy? I'm still a beginner with watercolors. Amy, if your watercolor paint feels grainy, it could be the paint or the paper. Take up close pictures and post it in group, and everyone can kind of weigh in on that. I mean, it could be that you are getting granulation, which sometimes people will interpret as grainy, but I find most people know the difference between that and grain, and so definitely post with us. How are we doing here? How are we doing here?
I think you're doing great.
Are we doing great? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and take a little of my green and a little of my brown together. And I think I'm going to come up alongside this house here. I just want to make sure that we've got a nice edge. I think we do.
What happened there?
What happened here?
My screen.
I don't know what happened to your screen. Is my screen, are we still good?
Yeah, we are.
Are we still good? Do we still have a picture?
Yeah, you're good over there. It's just my monitor here. There it goes. It's just my monitor just went.
I think it's Nisi, Neiscys. I think it's Nisi Golden Arts. Says she's, I'm so hype even though I'm late. Welcome even though you're late. All right, so this is looking pretty good. We have to decide a couple of things. We have to decide the color of door. We have to decide if we want windows. We have to decide if we want those windows to be on or off. These are super important decisions to make. I'm going to get a teeny tiny bright just to make my window job easier. Now, if you're wondering what exactly is this one, this is a number 4 silver Monza, but it does not use any animal hair in it, and it certainly does not use mongoose hair, which is illegal. It does, however, mimic mongoose hair, so that's pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and make a red door. Didn't have to be red, could be blue, could be any color. The water part of this is going to go fast when we get the building in.
Yeah.
And all these little details in, and yeah, it'll go fast. It's going to be like work, then boom, painting. Oh my gosh, we're so happy we spent this time doing this. I hope so. I hope that's how we all feel about it. Adding some little windows. Just these little squares, not being too particular about it. You'll see why in a minute. And again, not being too particular about it. I kind of do them like this so I can sort of match them up, and then I paint the interiors in just a second.
Okay.
I like the idea of this longer window over here, and try to make sure that it sort of follows the and adding a little red. And again, this is just using my bright to get nice molding going, right? Got that going. And you're like, oh, the frames are so thick. There's a reason why. There's a little trick we're about to do. Just to make that super easier for us to deal with. So I'll start out with some blue. I'll do blue and burnt sienna. Just come back. If the lights are off on your window, if you Bob Rossed your lights,
Uh-oh. There you go.
You can come back with your dark color and some reflection, and then easily paint that. So if I come there and I get some zinc, so I've just used my phthalo blue and my burnt sienna, and then I'm going to come across with a little zinc to create that reflection, and that's all that really takes. So again, let's go do that again. That is burnt sienna and phthalo blue, and I promise, we are not skipping black because of any reason other than we just haven't put out black, and we don't need it right now.
Mm-hmm.
When we need it, we'll get it. We don't really need it at the moment. So there's that, and then if I come here, a little zinc white at an angle. Not just the easiest glass you ever saw?
Yeah.
Easiest glass you ever saw. If you want the lights on, check out my cabin, my other lake cabin, which was also, it had a waterfall, it had a cabin, the lights were on in the cabin. So, I mean, we certainly have covered that. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of a highlight of the red. I brushed over the top. I brushed over the top. And then I'm going to come here and I am going to use a little purple and red. The two of these together. And I'm going to come on the, actually I start at the back. I'm going to come from the top and I'm going to create a little scaling at the top of the roof. And I just go over the top of the roof and this vertical line. And once that vertical line is there, I'm going to come across. Maybe I'll start at the bottom so it's easier to scale. I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm going to come here. We're just adding a little bit of a curved brushstroke to imply these little curved tiles. If you guys can see what I'm doing, it will really pop in the highlights. Curve, curve, curve. And then I may need to come here and kind of curve back, making sure that my tiles work. So when I have that good, I'm going to come in and add a little orange and red to the mixture. And then I will just come along the top here. And let's just highlight a few of those tiles. We're just highlighting the roof. We're not being too specific yet. It's just a little purple, a little red, a little of the CAD red light so that when we highlight some of the tiles.
They just get those sunlit highlights.
Get a little bit of that sunlight highlight.
Now, how do you know how far to take the detail levels?
You know, the thing is that if you don't want to have something so super detailed and then everything else not. So if you've got to kind of maintain a similar looseness. Be similarly loose.
Because it's easy to get it too detailed.
It is too easy to get it too detailed. Just add some little shadows here as well. I'm going to add some shadows up here as well. And so you just want to show that coming here, adding some little just a little bit, right? We're not trying to do everything now. I'm going to add some red.
I like that little rotary table. Rotary
I
table.
love my rotary table. And a little yellow.
Yeah.
And maybe a little zinc. I need more red over here. There we go. So got some little like tiles and stuff happening there. Looking pretty okay. Little red and purple.
Those little highlights are nice and important.
It's important to add shadows. It's important to add some of those little details because they're what will pull the cabin together. I'm going to go ahead and glaze that out. Damp brush. Stiff filament. Scratchy, scratchy. Doing pretty good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is going to seem a little what? But I'm going to It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
I'm not unhappy with it. I'm gonna add a little white to my little zinc white to my brush and just kind of come here and add some zinc to the top of some of this. Not titanium white, but something just a little transparent. I can glaze out. I have to get titanium white, it'll be to clean up that edge right there. Helps to actually get paint on the brush. All right, so now we have another set of trees. We have some wood to do. We have pillars if we want to add them with the ropes. We have some choices here about what we want to do. And now I kind of do want to add some black to my paint set out here. I've got to find that. I got lots of green. I'm just looking for my black. That's brown. While useful is not what I need. Ah, here it is. Okay, not too many. Not too much. We haven't really used it this lesson in any way, right? So I'm going to go ahead with this tiny, tiny brush. I'm going to just come underneath. I'm going to get my brown and my ultramarine blue. And start to brush this here, and then we'll create the highlights and reflections.
That's a good question.
Pull it in. Yes.
Have we painted a gingerbread house on the channel?
No, but there's one in plans for the 12 days.
But we've done gingerbread something on the channel. I kind of remember that. What did we? It's like, don't you remember some gingerbread houses?
If I did and I've forgotten right now, that's what happens when you get to over 1,000 art lessons. Is that you just have some you don't know where. All right, so I'm gonna come to the top, and I've added a little white to this because I do want a reflection. I am dry brushing it because this is incredibly weathered wood, right?
And
go ahead and just a little brown, a little back and forth. I don't mind there.
Yeah.
I just go ahead and pull that in little bits of brown. I just want to little scratching short strokes. Scratching short strokes. You okay, babe?
I can't get my eyes to cooperate.
You wanna? I can take some questions. You can start up some new coffees. Or I can do them. We could take the halfway break mark. We could take our halfway point break. We're a little further than halfway, but if you guys would like to take a halfway point, I can go get some coffee, and John can rub his eyes, And then we'll come in and we'll finish the water, the pulling here. We'll finish.
I don't have a halfway point break anymore because it kept breaking YouTube.
What?
Remember? We the
That was Facebook. That was never on YouTube.
I can see if I can fix that. Hold on a second.
Okay. Or we could just be like, we'll be right back. Like John could just put the words, we'll be right back over this, and I'm going to go make a cup of coffee.
I'll make you a cup
I'll
of
see
coffee.
you guys in a minute.
No, it's okay. I'll make you a cup of coffee. It's all right. I'll get it for you.
I don't mind getting it.
Yeah, I know you don't. But
there
you
are
answer
no
questions.
gingerbread videos on website, says Irene. And happy birthday to you, Teresa M. So happy birthday. We are just like behind the gun. So we're doing pretty good. Some things that I see already is my roof line is kind of raised up here, and this is sort of raised, but this hasn't truncated in the back. So I'm going to fix a couple of those things. I'm going to take a little of my green and yellow just to start out, and I'm going to come here and make sure that right? Do you see how that little change made kind of a big difference? And we'll go ahead and just, that's maybe a little too down, but then I'll go ahead and smooth out that green. Whenever I've got to make a correction and I'm doing it like that, I just make sure that I've got a space around the building that I'm working on so that even if I have to change it, I don't mind. I'm like, oh, it's okay. Right, and I can just kind of scrumble around there. And you can see that it's pretty easy for me to make little corrections where necessary. And I just feel like the roof has got to go back further. So I'm going to take a little yellow and a little of my orange. And I'll extend it that way a bit. Even though I'm going to have a ton of tree coming down over it, I'll go ahead and get that so that when we come back in, we don't have that little. I'll make sure that this sort of goes to the back there as well. See how that works. Ah, there we go. Little changes. So I do want a fence line here. I just don't want it to throw off the house. And one of the best ways I can think of, and I'll go ahead and I'll put it out with my black, would be to basically say that the fence, I wouldn't want the little posting, even though we know we're at a frog's eye view. If we do the posting where it doesn't really cross into the house, right? And we do them just a little bit smaller in scale. Right? I'm doing them in black so we can really see them. And then I'm going to, I don't want to take away my trunk. So I'm going to post back that next post right here. That way, I can decide how much I want to do. Thank you so much, babe. E. Wuzzle says, discovered channel, loves it. And Maria Wolf says, woo, black. Jennifer Bowman's talking crazy, John. She's suggesting that we do housework. So listen, I'm going to tell you why housework is super dangerous and a danger to the public health. So, and why you shouldn't do it. My mom broke her arm doing housework, making the bed, shattered it completely. So I no longer, in memory of that moment, I no longer make the bed. Because once I found out you could break your arm over it, I was not as into doing it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just doing this here, and then maybe another one kind of like, even though I know the tree's going to be over it, I'm just kind of putting them there mentally because they're not too big yet. And the other thing about it, doing it here at this stage now, is I could come here and say, all right, this, which I think actually probably is going to have to be the pacing of it.
Yeah.
And then here off of it, and then I'll paint out the black one I did there. And as you can see, when I choose to do that, it is okay. It
Yeah.
does get it out of there, and then I can just make it go away. And then anything weird that I've got going on painting wise, I will carry it through.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go ahead and get my brown and my blue together again to make that gray mix that I like so much for the wood we're all so fond of. Go ahead and get into the mix.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to use my trees as a way to determine the lighting of my wood posts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can see it.
As a starting point. The starting place, guys.
It's a squeaky table. I need to get a different table.
It is a squeaky table.
Super squeaky table.
Why is your table so squeaky, sir?
Because it's a temporary table. It's one of those, plastic tables where I was like, I need a table here. And I put it there, and then it never left. I got to get a real table for it.
Get a real table. Make these pretty rough because they've got to feel like they're also wood. So even if they're aged wood, they should still feel like they're also wood. There we go. Just painting nice little brown, little blue again. If it goes too gray, then back in. From here. Same thing. It can be a little darker because we know there's going to be another tree to come in and almost completely cover it up. So don't, on these ones over here, there's so much tree, I wouldn't overwhelm yourself painting those in. They're just there to let you know where they are. This one, and this one are the big deals.
Ah.
If you need to come into the blue and then you come underneath and there we go. Kind of good there.
Yeah.
They look like little poles now. And they're a little more in scale, so even though we all know the other thing is what is there, sometimes it helps. I'm going to just add, in this case, a little shadow underneath, and then I'm going to add maybe a little shadow underneath as well.
Whoops. I'm going to miss
Now,
that.
while I'm here, I'll go ahead and put out a little rope.
I'm sorry.
Let's put ropes.
I was missing that. I'm trying to get there we go. You move down the end.
All right, so we'll go there. And then we'll say this
Hoop. You did down there again. Whoosh.
to that. So simple little safety rope has happened.
Yeah.
What do I need to do then? Then I need to take a little of my blue and my white together. Highlight it a bit.
Oh.
All right. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to take a little of my yellow ochre and a smidge of my black. Smidge.
Smidge.
Smidgy smidge. Wipe off that little bit of white, and then I'm going to come here and kind of make a little twist mark every so often. Twist, twist. Twisting, 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 twisting.
Oh.
Twisting, twisting, twisting. So now we've got a bit of a rope going across that feels ropish.
It does.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Rosie Monster. Again, thank you so much. How are you guys doing? Okay, so Kathy Wood, it's so beautiful. I love fall colors. Speaking of fall, it's time to swap the summer clothes out. But thank goodness for smart TVs I'm watching while rotating clothes out.
Someone said it's Han Solo season. Because if you look around, everyone's wearing like puffy vests, white shirts, and boots. And I'm like, oh yeah, it is kind of Han Solo season.
Now, while I'm here, I'm going to I'm going to do some interesting things. I'm going to take a little of my green and brown together. And I'm going to begin to paint kind of a base. Sometimes you could even do blue and green and brown. This is a very dark base. I'm using my fan so that it's kind of streaky. And I'm initially doing these very... I'll have to come back and put those back in.
Yeah.
Dark.
Dark.
I'm doing this initially very dark. And this is just the beginning of what I will have going on in the water. I may need some fresh water, babe.
Do you?
I'm so sorry.
I don't mind. I'm sure we can trade. I'm sure we can figure that out.
But I just want to... No, don't go across. I do want to start to do this where I'm bringing that down in the water. Where we're starting to talk about that reflection of what's happening and how that looks. And the base of the water is actually quite dark. It's sort of interesting as you're painting it. Here's the other one. Green and brown. This is a moment. My water, so I got to stop for a second so I'll talk to you. If you're wondering how to dispose of water, you want to use a crash solid method. If you go to Golden Artist Colors website, they have a step-by-step for you to do your own. And they also have a crash solid kit. So if you're not into chemistry or having trouble getting some of the chemicals, you can purchase from them. And actually that works out better than you might think. I can't. I'm out of water, see? No water. This is what it means when you don't have enough water. Brush, you're using it wrong. Get this off here. So there we go. I will read comments. So Healthy Lifestyle has retracted message. I assume autocorrect has gotten you. Because autocorrect is usually the #1 cause of me retracting a message. Where autocorrect thinks I said something crazy that I did not say. And listen, if you're ever on this channel and you make a comment after a video, and please like, comment, and subscribe so that you know when we're doing these beautiful lessons. Whenever that's happening, guys, one of the things that you definitely will want to do, I don't know what I was saying.
What were you saying?
Oh, is to know that sometimes I miss emoji and I accidentally sometimes put up the broken heart instead of the red heart because it looks the same on my phone.
Oh.
It's just an issue with my phone. I've got to avoid that. Yeah, I miss emoji. Nobody has broken my heart on this channel, but sometimes the broken heart channel, it looks like the other. Anyways, it's a whole emoji problem.
Gotcha.
And the important part of that story is the emoji problem is not you guys. Mm-hmm. Back into that 1/2-inch kind of brush here. I'm going to get into my ultramarine, blue and white, and some brown, all kind of mixed. And I'm going to start to pull those colors down again, just making sure that they're still there, because where would we want them to go? Nowhere. We don't want them to go anywhere. There is a cool trick I'm going to show you, and these need to be here like this, and glazing medium is helpful for it.
Oh.
Right now I've got to get this basis in, and then I'll come in and then do the zhuzh. They'll be like, what? And I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
Everyone should show you that in painting. Everybody should show you all the time these tricks, because they're awesome.
They're good tricks.
I do some good tricks. So some basic little downward strokey marks you want. Let's get in and finish up our bestest tree.
Yeah.
We can't. Our bestest tree can't go in until the water's all in. So in your reference, if John can throw out the reference, one of the things that you're going to see is that, and I think I want to actually add some green over this a little bit more playfully. I think. While I'm talking about this, I'm going to add some green in there more playfully. One of the things to realize is that if you look at that, the leaves go over the water, they go over the wood, they go over several things. So because of that, I'm going to want to paint them. I need to have at least the water to here done to even put that tree in. So that's why I'm being kind of worried about that. Now I'm going to come here and I want to add, I felt like this needed to be more. And sometimes when I'm painting, I'll look at something and go, man, that needs to be more.
Does it?
And that one needed to be more. Even if it's just a little bit in the gray sagey ranges, It needed to be more. Just to show those leaves a little more balance into the orange tree that's behind it and itself. But now that we have that in, we can play with all the stuff, and we can actually come in here and take a little of our orange and a little of our red together. Mixy, mix, mix, mix. And a smidge of our darks purple. So you can come in and brighten some of that up here, now that you know where the green is, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes it's about getting an object in and seeing how it relates to another object, and then coming back in and painting that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I need just a little bit longer on the downward wood.
Okay, 1 second.
There we go. I need the downward wood to be just a little bit longer. So I took some white over into my brown kind of mixture over there. Mm-hmm. There was some ultramarine blue, little green, a bunch of weird little stuff in it. This is now working as intended. Now, here's the trick. So we're going to dry that. Looks crazy at the moment. Looks kind of good. Some of it's kind of good, but we want to get that weird reflection that's going to make this look like water.
Yeah.
And then everything else we can do easy.
And don't forget to don't use heat. We haven't had a lot of drying in this time, so I haven't had a chance to tell you. Don't use heat, and hit the subscribe button, because if you hit the subscribe button, then you can hit the bell and the all button, which will send you notifications whenever we go live. So you won't forget or miss anything. So that's always a good thing to do. Did you do it?
I did.
All right.
So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do my best to come across and use my T-square ruler to give myself 2 sharp lines. The first sharp line, I may actually even come in using the ruler and my T-square just to sharpen that up, right? And I'm going to come down here, and to the best of my ability, I am going to make another dark line. Not bad. I've got that there, and I do want to put out my glazing liquid gloss. Glazing liquid gloss.
Liquid gloss.
Yes, I do. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to take a little of my blue, edge of my black, a little of my blue, and I want to darken without erasing the water right here. Reflections are a shade or value darker than what's above them in general. So one great way to get there is glazing liquid. And the other thing that you're going to notice is that there's a very dark line where the water and the reflection are present. So I'm going to keep glazing down, making that darker. You have to get some black in there. That is okay. Making this darker, darker, darker than what's above it. Glazing medium. Never seen it. This is the only product of this type that I recommend.
It's a good
Gloss glazing liquid.
Yeah.
It's just the one that it's a slow drying extender for acrylic colors. In other words, it slows down how fast it dries and you can glaze with it. Almost all other products on the market do one or the other, but not both in the same bottle, even though they'll have a similar name. And that's just something to be aware of, is that they can have a similar name, but it still may not be. I'm dry brushing up the black line. And that active dry brushing is going to further make it seem like wood. This is a 1/2 inch ruby satin angle short handle. You can get this as the brush, guys. You should have this in stock right now, I think, in most art stores. You can see how that feathering up.
Yeah.
I could do a grass comb as well. Would do a similar effect. Sometimes I'll change the angle of my brushing to improve that look as well. You can start to see it happen.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to take a little of my blue and my black together, and I'm going to continue this exaggeration. This is a big deal part of the painting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not where you would necessarily put a lot of your attention and focus, but it's the one that's going to make this be water.
And that's just that.
And we've got to get the wood in, age it correctly, get the reverse reflection out correct, and then everything. Thank you, Dusty. And everything will happen right after that. Brenda Smith, does this have to be painted? No. Nope. I must be missing a part of your question. Mary Youngblood says reflections are a nemesis right now, so this is helping.
Is it good?
You'll need to explain to me more what you mean by does this have to be painted? Because like if you're just asking generally, do I need to paint this? And like, no, you should only paint the things that make you happy. But if you're asking, does the wood need to be painted first before you apply acrylic paint? Not strictly, no, not the ones that I've listed down below. I painted them raw. I painted them pre-gessoed. I happened to pre-gesso this one with raw umber gesso. Just to seal it up and get a good starting place.
It did good.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's so nice. That's so nice. Oh, and Joni Simmons Johnson says this is beautiful and realistic. Thank you very much. We are going to get it there. We're throwing down today. Every once in a while we throw down.
I like it. Looking pretty good.
Yeah. Every once in a while we throw down. And I'm not even doing that much. I had to put benches and all kinds of crazy stuff all in there. But today we just do what's there. And they continue to load up into the black. You can get into the blue, glazing medium to help improve flow. And then we're going to start to, hopefully straight, we're going to pull down about every ½ inch or so this line reflection. Straight as you can do it. Nemesis of us all, I know. Twix is snoring at my feet.
Is she?
That isn't me. If you hear a crazy noise, I have neither farted nor snored. It is all dog. All that nonsense. She's farted on me twice, like almost gassed me out. Like every once in a while, if you guys see me go blank. If you see me just blank out,
it's the dog.
The dog is farted. So sometimes I do lose track of my thoughts, but sometimes I'm just dealing with questions in my mind like, what did we feed her? Why does it smell like that? But she likes to sleep under my feet. I gave her a dog bed under, she usually has a dog bed under my easel, but she just likes to be at whoever's the stillest person's feet or bed. And right now, when I'm painting, I am the stillest. So can you guys see the kind of black lines that are happening here?
Yeah.
These are important for helping it feel like a reflection.
Mm-hmm.
Making it darker.
Yep.
Yeah. But all the noises are just the dog, and I'm not just blaming the dog. They really are. But you know what? The thing is, I was thinking about it, John, if we had a network show, let's say one had a network show, I realized I can't have the dog under my feet. I'm a network show. That's not professional. But I can at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's just some cool things about being home, right?
I like being at home.
That are just awesome. I'm taking a little brown and a little ultramarine blue and a lot more of my zinc white. And I'm going to come here and add just a few slightly lighter reflections in the focal areas, not everywhere. Just adding a little bit here and there. Just focusing that out. Now, that is pretty darn good. We can do a lot from there. I'm going to get a little more of this on here and like say, pull some of that out a little further. There'll be other things that we do. Yes, sirree, Bob. Other things that we do.
There always is.
Always is, but right now we're just pulling these things kind of out. And the reason I'm going here, we mentioned it earlier, is because I can't paint that last red tree till I have some bases happening here. And then when that's all filled in, then I can do something else.
Something else.
something else. So I'm going to dry it.
All right. And then after we dry it, I imagine that we will come back in here and add some more magical layers, because layers is kind of where it's at. You know what I mean? She's a layers kind of person. I often find that after just a couple of those. But do make sure you dry it thoroughly between those layers. That way you don't pull any paint smears or anything like that as you're getting it done.
Healthy Lifestyles, if you were asking about this brush, this is a 1/2 inch ruby satin angle brush by Silver Brush Limited. The place I'd recommend getting it is from thebrushguys.com. All right. How do you know what order to paint things? Just back to front, says Marie Wolf. Okay, so here is some good news, bad news. A bit of strategy here. There's really not a right or wrong, though I do tend to paint furthest objects back and layer forward. But there are artists that do it differently. It's really about creating a process that you can duplicate and easily access and get into. And I pick this one most often for my students because it is, for the most part, easiest on them.
Yeah.
Most part. I'm going to start to paint my orangish sleeves. Oh no, I had blue. That's okay, because I was going to add purple in there to darken that first level. So let's take some red, a little orange, and a smidge of purple. And begin at the beginning.
And begin. Thank you, Trish.
It was a very nice of Trish. I really appreciated it. Now I've got this beautiful... See, I told you not to do the fence, because now I'm where everybody is on the fence, which is just...
You're on the fence.
Don't want to paint out the beautiful fence that I painted in.
Get over there so you can get on.
But I'm going to have to.
Paint some fence out.
I am. And it's just, I had to know the place. Oh, just darn it. This is what I said.
It was going to happen.
I did. I did say it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. Like you, I'm never happy when it does actually happen.
Yeah.
I've just got to think about how I am painting these bits. I don't want to lose all of the fence. And I do want enough of this to have it feel like we would have a reflection down here. So that's why I'm really kind of making that a little solid at that far edge. And then we can kind of, well, maybe solid here. I don't want to take it all on my tree that I've already painted in. And then maybe a little bit of tree branch
just like
there.
Going over there. You're going branch crazy.
I did maybe a little bit.
I was reading chat.
Okay.
There.
Well, read chat. I don't expect you not to read chat. This is just my most important branch.
You're getting close here with these.
I am. The water will go real fast. And honestly, when you see how reflections are done, you're going to be like, I want to reflect all the things.
This was like, so it was really sort of getting all this work prepped for the finale, which goes...
Yeah, it really always is that, though. I'm just working the corner lobe. This is a number 2 Silverstone fan hog bristles.
Mm.
And I am taking advantage of the wild and unruly nature of that brush.
That's a good thing to do.
It's what you got to do. What you got to do. So I'm really thinking about like how each of these little marks could represent leaves.
Now, they were asking, when are you going to have your Christmas kits available?
That is something you and I need to have a meeting about, because we've got to plan it and talk about what we can get in for materials. We're going to have Christmas kits. I will try to do the same thing for Christmas that I did for the 13 Days of Halloween, is what's in the kit is what I'll use in the lessons.
It would seem like a holiday faux pas to list up our Christmas kits before Halloween.
Yeah.
So I would say, make sure that you're paying attention as we get closer to the Halloween. Patrons, watch your
we may put it up a little bit earlier than when we normally would for comfort, but that is only because I will be doing those paintings earlier in the month. Not because I'm putting out some yellow now.
Yeah, watch your dashboards, check out the newsletter. There'll be lots of information coming out on it as soon as we have the final details.
Mixing a little red and my purple together pretty heavily.
And I would expect that earlier in the week, this coming week.
Yeah, you and I just have to have that meeting about that and figure out what we think we can get.
To finalize which of these wonderful things are going to go into the box.
So what it is I'll be like, okay, I want to do this for the holidays, and I need all these tools, and then we call everybody and then find out we can't get any of those tools.
And they're like, but we're sold out.
Yeah, and when I see that there's a big shortage, then sometimes that kiboshes the lessons because if I can't get it, you can't get it. Is what I'm starting to learn. I'm adding these deep shadows so that this branch, you can have areas that are very light. I'm rinsing out very well. I'm going to do 2-cup rinse out, which means I rinse out my brush in 2 separate water cups. Oh, and Trisha, I saw your wonderful, nice super chat sticker.
It's a very good super chat.
Mary Youngblood says, Bob Ross used to bring squirrels and birds on his set. I think Twix could be on your set either way. I don't know, but I would love to have any of the cloth that Bob had. Cheryl Kidd, would it be possible to paint the painting without glazing medium? Yes.
It is.
It is possible. Blues are transparent. A lot of these colors are transparent, so you just want to do them in a more transparent method. And you'll see me really work that effect kind of coming up here a little bit when I put the next thing in. Yeah. So I'm going to take my orange as we have it up here. And I'm going to take my yellow as I have it up here. What you saw me doing was making sure that the brush was kind of rough and crazy. See how it's kind of rough and crazy?
Yeah.
That's why I picked this one. And I'm being very careful in how I'm assembling it. Kind of show maybe like where those leaves are more yellow and maybe more in sunlight and reflecting what's around them. I assume you, like me, enjoyed this reference photo or what the reference photo was. Try not to do paintings on my show that I wouldn't want to hang on my own wall.
Yeah.
Kind of see that. Oh, doesn't that look gorgeous? It's like falling. Yeah, play on words. Nice play on words.
Very nice.
I really am enjoying that.
I do too.
I'm just playing with that and playing with the color, and I'm pretty happy with that. So again, that color mix is the Docs Purple, Cad Red, Cad Red Medium, Cad Red Light, Cad Yellow Medium. These colors is why I tend to use Cads. You know, even though Cads are not perfect, that's why I use them. So have you ever painted a picture for your mom as a present? Says Alan. Yes, I have.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she, I mean, like, I'm her kid, so for sure. Many times. I can't say.
Many times.
So, okay, you have to understand, in our house, we're different about paintings than other people are about paintings. Paintings are a consumable good. We change them. We change art out over the holidays, and so it's much more like on the level of bake a cake. It's a consumable that it would be like, say, like a long term precious thing. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Because, like, with a kid like me, you can't keep, like, all the art from school because produce too much.
So, if you'd like to participate in a trading of art, you can always go out to our website and go TheArtSherpa.com, and you can check out our ATC swap.
ATC swap.
Where you can swap ATC cards.
ATC cards or something.
Yeah.
Trying to create as straight of a line as I can. I know where it is.
Cross over there.
That just kind of lets me know about that. And then to the degree I can do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The wonderful thing about reflections in the water is that they tend to get a little wiggled or off. So some of what you have going on is not so challenging because you can definitely, and I'm going to turn this upside down for a second, wiggle out a reflection.
Wow.
So I'm doing a general loose and slightly squished reverse of what we have here. And then I will probably in here have some of that red. And I think we're pretty good coming forward that way. So now we gotta get real about it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take a little of my burnt sienna and a little of my ultramarine blue and make my gray. And I've got to put out more burnt sienna, it looks like, and more ultramarine blue. So there's a weird thing, like, so first we paint in kind of the general reflection, and then we paint in the wiggle of the reflection.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a thing, but once you get into it, once you get the hang of it, you'll be like about it in 2 seconds. And then when we have that in, we can put in the darkening on the water here using the glaze, and then we can put in the other stuff, and it's going to look so super real.
Yeah.
It's going to freak y'all out. Not John, he's used to it. He still somewhat gets excited, but he's pretty used to it. Taking a little bit of my white, just making a nice gray. And so coming forward, I am going to just kind of paint what I have here. Now, it will be easier for me. I may flip it over just because it's easier for me to not paint it upside down.
Well, that's okay. You can do that. We've got the thingy
That's
that
why I
allows you
have
to
the
do
little
it.
roundy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I am just painting loosely. And it is a little bit loosely, guys. The reflection of what is above it. This time, a little more blue into that mix. little bit of the blue into that mix. And where I have this, and this is interesting to me, I'm going to take a little bit of my ultramarine blue and phthalo blue.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little more blue here.
Yeah.
Brushing back and forth. And then back down. Pulling it long. Pulling it forward. Sorry, don't mean to be quiet there, guys.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Sometimes I'm just a thinking too. Now, we've got our yellow and orange, right? And we can take a little of our blue into it to gray it so it's not so super bright. We still want it distinctly orange. And again, this is a much looser painting of what we have anywhere else. Everything okay?
Mm-hmm. Just fine.
Okay. Dry brush, if you need to glaze, you can glaze. Okay. Once we have that sort of just in, right? I'm going to get a little of the purple red going on my thing. I'm going to make these kind of weird reflection lines. Purple orange. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm also going to kind of come up there. All of my blue here. Just on the edge of my 1/2 inch angle brush. Come here. A little bit of these little choppy lines. Just a little bit. With my So, kind of painting an as above is so below kind of thinking here.
You're just kind of trying to get everything that's above it to reflect in the thing below it.
Yep.
That
Well,
kind of makes sense.
all still, and you do want to kind of break up the reflection. There's ripples in it. I'm going to get my glazing medium into it. Back and forth. Maybe a little blue-green, and they can ripple back into the roof a bit. So we're just trying to make sure that we paint a bit of the red there, but not in focus.
Yeah.
visible
Just kind of there.
there, but not in focus.
There, but not there.
There, but not there.
There and
Some
again.
dark reflections here, just breaking it up. Right, doing some dark reflections. You know, a bunch of the places. Because it ripples, right?
Yeah.
It's a little different than what's above it. Now, the glaze that I mentioned. So we're going to take, I think I'll take my blue, maybe even a little of my purple, and my glaze.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Softly pulling that reflection line down.
Mm-hmm.
So that the sharp line is where the water hits the wood.
It is.
And the diffuse lines are where everything is water. So think of the water as a rippling mirror. Right? That's what it really is it's a rippling mirror. Totally, 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 totally. Now, I've got to think about how I want to resolve these wonderful reflections and the rest of it because there's so many terrific colors and, you know, like right here, there's a lot of the green and brown. Maybe a little more green brown.
Dusty's really loving this one.
Is Dusty loving this one?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just taking that fan brush and letting it kind of give me some of these little green reflections that are happening.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll bring that in. That looks pretty okay right now. You can see it's the burnt sienna, phthalo green, and a little bit of cad yellow. It is the deep color of the forest that we put behind it.
Oh.
I'm going to rinse out twice. Twice. And then I'm going to come in, I'll put out a little more of my cad red. And this, because we've just got to get into the colors that we have here overhead and some of the reds going, and then we'll put the high reflections and we're done, guys.
Wow. This is so fast.
Is it fast?
Well, I mean, relatively speaking, I mean.
Faster than you, I think it's faster than you might expect it to go.
Yeah, I think that's, well, this has taken a couple hours for us to paint. I mean, it's only taken us a couple hours to paint it.
I think this is a substantial piece that you can do in a couple hours.
Yeah.
I'm just pulling the brush and I'm just using it to create the reflections. So a lot of times artists look at fan brushes as technique brushes.
Yeah.
Like it does that one bob tree technique. And that's what they think of it as. Whereas I look at a fan brush as any of my tools. The same as any of my tools in my kit. It makes a mark. I love them all for the different marks that they make. And I think it's important.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a little bit of that right over there because there's that red reflection, in that tree behind. There might be some in the water, yeah?
Yeah.
The way water is. A little more of my yellow on here.
Any little disturbance in the water surface could be Kevin.
Yeah, it all could be Kevin, couldn't it? I can also sort of wiggle this, which helps with the way that the reflections can feel.
Gotcha.
They're
All
probably
right.
so bored.
They are. It's okay.
All right. I'm going to just keep having that show as a light and a reflection going off.
Mm-hmm.
Light stuff, anything that we show, we just want it to be light, light, light. These are little marks, little thoughts. This is really great over here. So when I have that all done, I'm going to rinse, 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 rinse. I'm going to take my white paint and I'm going to tap up and down. I might get just a little of my ultramarine into it so it's not pure white. Let's see if we can do what I hope we can do. See how it works out for me first. I'm going to get away with this, I believe, by making sure that the overall splash kind of leaf stuff in the water reflections have a horizontal orientation.
Right.
You can think of these little bits here as maybe sunlight reflecting on the water. You can think of it as leaves or things that have fallen in. And it's just nice to just go on the little edges here. And again, we're just putting in little distant reflections. Little moments far, far away. So definitely take a minute to look at this when you're doing these, because less is more.
Mm-hmm.
You can also do some interesting stuff. If you have a good knife on you, I've got a pretty decent one here. I think this one will work okay.
Yeah.
You can also take some of your white and some of your blue. Right? And then you're going to make a very kind of trimmed out reflection.
Oh, wow. Now, you don't have to be disheartened by the knife. It's not necessarily like a beginner can try to use one.
Oh my goodness. And should try to use one. So here's the thing. See that bead that I've loaded? That's really what it's about, is learning how to load it. First thing about the knife is you learn how to load it.
Yeah.
And then you learn how to get it to make a mark that you want. Like, how do you get this tool to make some of the marks that you're wanting?
Right.
I mean, it clearly makes some great marks. These are wonderful marks for, like, say, water or whatever. Let's see how that is. Sometimes that combo of straight line and kind of loose sparkle is very powerful. Little straight line, a little loose sparkle.
Yep.
Hattie Hoffman, thank you so much. Andrea Evans Rockhill says, Cinnamon and John, you are both the absolute best people I know. You're so sweet and kind. And this 64-year-old thanks you.
Well, thank you.
Well, you're so incredibly welcome. And thank you for taking time out of your day to show up and be part of our art classes here, because this is only fun because you guys come.
Mm-hmm.
It really helps. I really like that you guys come to the events. All right. I think we've... Oh, I kicked over the green world. I think I'm pretty happy with this result.
I think so.
You guys can paint further. If you're like, no, I have more to say than what has been said today. I think that is okay.
Thank you, Patty.
Isn't that very nice, Patty? I'm going to take a small detail brush. And I'll go ahead and grab a little green and maybe some yellow. I'm going to be kind of careful with what I'm about to do because it will greatly impact what I've painted.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. And I do want a signature, but I don't want to lose the hard work that I've done. So make a color that's not unheard of in the painting. And I'm going to try to sign in a location that won't disturb the art.
Yeah. Wow.
That is really hidden today. I know that's really hidden. They're going to be looking for it later, but sometimes I really don't want
just sneak it in there.
No, I don't want the signature to take over the piece, you know?
I get it.
Yeah, it's there. You guys know it's there. We all saw me sign it. If anyone ever ends up with this painting, you know how hidden the signature should be. So right there, we've got our little signature kind of hidden in. We've got our wonderful little scene. You can do this. If you don't have a round canvas, remember we've got those hacks, those tips, those tricks on the website. Don't be afraid of fall colors or fall leaves or fall trees. One of the reasons we did all those fan classes that week of Vans is so that you could do stuff like this with the ease that you see me doing it. So that you're like, whenever you see a bunch of trees, you're like, yeah, I've got 5 tools. I want you by next year to be able to say, I have 5 tools that will do that technique. 5 ways to get there. Now, just one way to get there. 5 ways to get there. 5. I like the word 5. Be good to yourself. Crazy out there right now, and self-care is super important. If you're participating, treating yourself well, I highly applaud that. It's important to do because that's how you're going to be the best person you can be for everybody else. Good to yourself. Be good to each other because they're going through it too. And I want to see you at an easel really soon.